Hi, and welcome to another week with MAFM522, Ministry of Marriage. And so, hey, the work so far has been, I love the work and the interaction that you all have had with one another. And, it's fun to do this topic with you. And as I said before, I'm a marriage nerd, so this makes it fun for me. It's fun for me to watch your interaction with the material in the sense because every angle that each of you are looking at the material. This is helpful. I mean, we have a classmate that has a passion for remarriage and blended families and has experienced that. We have those of you who are single, those of you who come at it from a married perspective. Those of you who grew up in homes that had a strong example, and those that grew up in homes that didn't have such a great example. And so for all of that, we put it together and we share with one another, we interact with the material, and we grow overall. So I hope that you've enjoyed the Gary Thomas book. And I noticed that maybe a couple of you purchased the newer version, a 2015 version of that. I assigned the 2000 version as an oversight on my part, but the material's not a lot different, but there have been some updates that Gary Thomas has made in this book. So not a big deal, not a huge thing, but for our purposes, you all have interacted with the book well. Well, I know one book that has not been updated yet is the Tim Keller book that we're about to dive into. So Tim and Kathy Keller. We're going to read The Meaning of Marriage, chapters 1 through 8. And so these are two great books that have the biblical and theological underpinnings. But this week's going to be unique because I'm assigning several popular articles. So popular meaning that they're non-academic. Some of them may have an academic kind of leaning towards them, but meaning that they're not original sources, which is an important thing that I want us to wrestle through this week, is to read an article, have an eye for it. Some of you may have this down already, but just I want you to capture an eye for reading an article and from it mining original material or primary source material. And then when you mine that, you go to the primary source, if at all possible, and find out what it says for yourself. See yourself in many of these articles that I'm assigning. See yourself as a peer with the person that's writing the article. I know that may be challenging in the sense that you're thinking, well, wait, they're a professional writing this, or they may be an academic but working in a regular field like psychology today. That's someone that's educated in that area, and they may be quoting. There are some journalists that you're reading, and some blog. There's a couple that are more like a blog post kind of thing. And normally that's not academic work, but the exercise that I want us to capture is to mine it for primary source material and go to the primary source material as much as we can when we're able to, or we read the article and consider the either slant, the bias, or how the person is unpacking it. So if four of us were to stand on four corners and see the same accident, all four of us would write about that accident and have a different perspective. And plus, because we're four different people, we may approach that accident from four different ways. We may see it through our different lens. And so in the same way, when you read an article, not to shed doubt on what you're reading, but we as independent thinkers and critical thinkers, each of us bring to the table this insight. And each person's writing an article is bringing in a particular perspective. So, for instance, if one of the articles assigned for this week is 32 shocking divorce statistics. I think that's a purposeful, shocking headline to get us to read the article, right? But there are some material in that article that we want to see and mine out of that. The other one that I captured here is that, the danger of sliding instead of deciding to get married. That's actually a very good article and a phrase that we want to learn, which is sliding versus deciding. But that captures your attention. You're like, danger, there's what's going on. And so we want to investigate a little bit further. So looking at primary sources. And then what I really want to see happen this week, and you'll see it in the assignment that you're given, is that for you then to take that material and compare it to what Keller is saying, and then reach back to, even if you want to pull back in Thomas as well, because we want to see that biblical and theological lens to see it through. So for you to weave in a biblical theological understanding with some of the contemporary treatment of the dynamics of marriage within our culture and society, right? So that's what we're aiming for this week, is to process our biblical and theological with the contemporary realities and the contemporary interpretation of the realities as well. And once again, the more we all share with one another, the more that you all interact on this material, when you bring this great work to the table, which I'm seeing, each one of us are capturing something. A couple things to work on, and that it would be when some of your dialogue and interaction. I do appreciate the accolades, appreciations that you're given to one another. So when it's in other words, for credit, it doesn't necessarily count that you're saying, hey, nice job up there, or I agree with you, and then you just leave it at that. But I really appreciate when you are able to interact with one another and pull quotes and say, hey, you said this, what do you think about this? A couple of you do just a really good job of asking questions after your comments. And you could say, nice job, I loved your essay, so forth and so on. That's fine, but don't stop there. And especially if you want credit for interacting with one another, don't stop there. So continue to interact, and do it as early as you can. So find what someone has written. When you turn things in, make those comments and ask questions or interact. And man, bonus thoughts, right? For when you can react to somebody, ask a question, and even quote some other material that you found, or another section of the text that we're studying. So consider how you can kind of spur one another on in critical thinking. This is just a rich experience as we walk through this. Hey, I want to give you a heads up that here in a couple weeks, I was hoping to perhaps do it this week. I don't think it's going to work out, but I'm going to save it. Is that I really would love to get all this together on a WebEx or face-to-face somehow to discuss it. For week 5, I want us to pull this off. Week 5, it would be, I'm looking at Thursday night, February 6th. I'm thinking 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'd like to set a time that we all can connect. So if you can save the date, save that time. I tried to go a little later so that those that aren't in Eastern time zone could still capture this at a reasonable hour. I think we're dealing with mostly Mountain Time, or not Mountain Time, Central Time and Eastern Time, I believe. If I'm not capturing everybody on this, I'm pretty sure we are. So that means you're in only an hour difference if you are, say, out in Kansas. So we're going to shoot for 8 o'clock on February the 6th. And just 1 hour we want to spend together. And that will be part of our assignment for the week that we're going to dialogue on. That'll be a really good week for us to process the material for that time. So let me confirm that we are looking at that'd be week 6. I'm going to send a confirmation here later, so I apologize for this, but I think we're looking at we're looking at week 5 for that. So February 6th is what we right now tentatively set that up, and then we'll walk from this point on. Remember, my door is always open. My virtual office door is always open. So email, message through Canvas, text or call. A couple of you have taken advantage of this. I really enjoy those times that I've been able to chat with some of you about what you're processing. Once again, it's fun for me because also I know that you bring a unique perspective, then also what you are preparing for on into your future. So yeah, I'm praying for each of you and appreciate the work that you're doing. So hey, let's have a good week together and keep pressing on. Take care.